right, well, we hope you enjoyed that and you had 6 Weetabix for breakfast, because I think we had about 8 Weetabix for breakfast when we made that. And it's my pleasure today to present to you. I'm Gov Van Eck, originally from the UK, and we have done a number of crypto companies. So as in the introduction, I was behind Power Ledger, which we ICO'd last year in Australia. And the 5 founders built that company in a year and a half, and we raised $34 million at the time. And the token went on to become a top 50 cryptocurrency in the world. So we were pretty excited about that, and it was a very exciting Australian ICO, and that was Power Ledger. However, that was about 1.8 years in development, and about 2.5 years ago, we started on this project, what is now known as BitCar. And just to give you a bit of background, we're a kind of experimental boutique bunch of people in Australia and Singapore, and we looked at a lot of different commercialization opportunities 2 or 3 years ago. And we did one in the medical space, we did Power Ledger, and then we decided to give BitCar a go as well. So it's actually quite a long time in development, this company. And here we are today, very happy that we're moving this forward. And it is about the tokenization of exotic cars, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. So let's have a look at that. Yep, so the lawyers there have an enjoyable read. All done? Yep. All right, move on. So, all right, so there's something down there. So what is BitCar? BitCar is a Singaporean company, just on the jurisdiction thing that we heard about earlier. I think there was some great advice there about regulation and jurisdiction. And we've obviously, with a project like this, we've been particularly looking at jurisdiction and legal things for a long, long time. And I think, I just want to add, we've just come back from Miami, where we were at the North American Blockchain Show, which was amazing. There was 3,500 people in that presentation, and there was absolutely huge interest still in America. But we are closed to America, always have been, always will be, for the reasons that we heard earlier. I mean, in a nutshell, the regulators in America can be quite out there, and so we felt, our lawyers, said that we shouldn't be open to the USA, and I think that could be quite sound advice for specific ICOs and companies. So we're closed to America, I just thought I'd add that. We have our legal jurisdiction in Singapore, and again, that was, that's a very progressive jurisdiction, I'll just say. Singapore has been very supportive of innovation. They love innovation in Singapore, and they love high tech. So, as long as you comply with all the laws there, I think, it can be a very, very good jurisdiction indeed, and we are very careful, and we have quite a number of lawyers helping us, making sure that we don't breach those kind of rules. So that's the first thing I want to say. You've got to be quite careful in the space legally. And so we're in Singapore, as I said, and we are looking to reshape the high-end automotive industry with BitCar. So what is BitCar? BitCar is a cryptocurrency which is really set for the automotive sector, starting with high-end classic and hypercars. I'll come on to exactly what that means. And we're building a decentralized platform for fractional ownership of these exotics, and they're treated as art. So what happens essentially is, as a decentralized platform, we will put high-end cars like $800,000 and up, cars that over the last 2 years we've been drawing up our lists on that we think will hold their value and are not so volatile. And then people can come onto that platform and they can buy a fractional interest in those vehicles, and they can trade in and out of that interest as they like. And so that would open that asset class for the first time in the world. And in its first launch phase, it'll be very much like Tether. So you'll be able to move cryptocurrencies into those hard assets. That's the first stage of BitCar. And so the cars are not driven, they're displayed, and they're treated like art. So we'll put them in airports and museums and little boutiques, and make them very visible and transparent. So one of the objectives, therefore, is to have those assets super transparent. And when we started this 2.5 years ago, we actually we're looking at art and collectibles, and we looked at wine, and we looked at other classes. And Sour Grapes, the movie, you guys may have seen it. You can fake wine, and people do, so that's fakeable. And then art. Art's very interesting. Why not make a Picasso or something and everybody fractionally own that? And we felt at that time very risky in terms of fakes. The art world is absolutely, when you dig deep into it, it's very difficult to, authenticity and provenance is so specialist. We were sort of car fans anyway. And so with these exotic vehicles, the difference between coins, wines, and art is that, you know, the chance of faking these cars is very, very less chance of that than those other classes. So by making it then, if we go to the next step and say, first of all, well, it's quite hard to fake them. The second step is we can display them all publicly. Suddenly, we've got an asset class which is very transparent and viewable. So those are some of the features that we really liked. And then we intend to build $500 million to $1 billion of these assets as quickly as we can. That's what BitCar's first will endeavor to do. And then these cars, after 5 to 15 years, will go back into the market and they'll be sold through an auction. But not before, so at the end of 5 years, the users get to vote on it. Do they want to extend the ownership for a while or not? So that's how basically initially it'll work. So the title and storage is severed. So the title, that we use agents basically who are external to the platform, and they have a very specific function. They have to be, you know, totally aligned with the users. They have to pledge quite a lot of money and that kind of thing. And their job will be to source, store, and manage the exotics on behalf of the decentralized platform. It's fully decentralized. And so, as I said, one question comes up a lot is, no, the title to these is totally severed. It becomes, the title goes onto the BitCar platform and is not kept with anybody, and those cars are not owned by anybody and they're not kept in anyone's garage. They are absolutely displayed at our boutique locations, which will be a few areas across the world. And then the co-ownership can be transparent and cleaner. We're about not taking any risks. So we want the best cars, we want the most transparent assets, we want it all visible and displayed, and we want the ownership as well to be completely severed and blockchained so that people can see that, you know, what percentage they're getting. So then the next step after that is we will seek, let me just go back to finish that off. I mean, that asset class as well has performed very well in the past, and it doesn't mean it'll perform well in the future, but it is an asset class where a lot of rich people have had one of these cars in their garage, they hardly ever drive them, and they, 5 years later, they're worth double or triple. And what we're just saying is if you compare that asset class to gold, shares, stocks, and other things, it is actually a very large asset class. It's a great one, and it's not open to the public. And so that was our mission, is to make that BitCar, bits of cars, make it open to the public and allow anybody to enjoy that kind of ownership thing. So that's the underlying mission. But then I say, we will expand and attempt to dominate the automotive industry with BitCar, where there isn't really much of a cryptocurrency right now in that sector, and we've had a lot of feedback saying, thank you guys for coming to this sector. We missed the boat a little bit in crypto, so we're getting huge feedback from that, from the car community, which is great. And then we want to expand the use of the platform so that ownership will go across autonomous vehicles and other streams of assets similar to that, and I'll touch on that a little bit more. And so, as I say, 2.5 years in the works, and our team has already created Power Ledger, and we're very experienced on that. And so, with those learnings, we hope that BitCar can benefit from that and go well. So, onto the design. Ultimately, we're there to nurture the exotic and high-end car passion whilst redefining future automotive ownership through blockchain tokenization. A lot of people come up to me and say, Gov, I don't want a car anymore, and I've got rid of my car. And I'm sort of saying, why? And they say, well, because Uber's so much cheaper. What's the point of owning the thing? It's just costing me more. So a lot of people are getting rid of them. So the ownership structure of a lot of cars is already changing in a lot of cities and everywhere across the world. It is rapidly changing. So the landscape is definitely there for disruption. The blockchain provides, as you guys already know, this blockchain conference, disruptive tokenization layer, therefore transparency, removal of trust, low costs, and a real-time frictionless transfer using crypto. So that itself is a game changer for pretty well every industry that blockchain attacks, and there's no reason why those benefits would not perform very well in a very large automotive industry. So that's great. On to regulation. I think asset tokenization is a big one for 2018. I think the market's ready for it. Everybody wants to do it, and so that's another reason why this is launched after 2.5 years being really working on it. But we went to FINMA in Switzerland with our lawyers there in Zug. And we already gave designs of how does that peer-to-peer trading exactly work, what is a security, what is not, what are the banking laws, give us all the regulations. So we went over that in great detail and very carefully and got a ruling from FINMA on certain aspects of our design. And so that is really one of the core technologies of BitCar is the legal framework and how do you transfer asset ownership. And so we'll be very excited as we release that legal design as we go forward from here. And I think it's going to be, others may follow suit. So that's quite complicated. It costs a lot of money, but it was the right thing to do. Actually talk to the regulators, probe out what the issues are, and that kind of thing is what we've done. And similarly in Singapore as well, working with lawyers. So Singapore and Switzerland are our kind of core jurisdictions. So the BitCar utility token, we have numerous reports in different legal jurisdictions, and we heard that earlier. You should get reports in the jurisdictions you're operating on, and it's not a security. So just a little bit of background here. A lot of people say to me, "God, why are you doing cars? They all depreciate." And I say, well, they do, but not all of them. So have a look at that one. I mean, there's two here. There's two high-end Ferraris here, an F40 on the top and F50 at the bottom. And here's an example from the UK group Hagerty. And they track all the pricing of these vehicles, and according to them, you can see it's gone up from sort of under $1 million to well over $2 million over that period of time. So that's not depreciation, that's quite the opposite. And the reasons for that are, this is a very limited kind of artwork in a way, automotive artwork, very limited. And a lot of people think that, wow, well, that might be better than cash. You have to look at cash. What is cash? Is it going to get diluted? What are the issues with cash? And another reason why we chose, by the way, exotic cars over wine and other commodities, even property, is that there is a big legal difference between property and these assets. In property, it's always a registered asset. The minute you deregister a vehicle like this, you're into a personal mobile asset, which has a different legal connotation completely and makes life a lot easier. So that was another factor that came out of our legal work. So that's some interesting issues about cars there that could go up and down, of course, in the future. No guarantees to go up, but this is some of our research showing what's happened in the past. And so the size of the opportunity then is actually a very large market. So you can see some of the brand names there of the target cars. What we call a target car is one that would have, is rare, it's collectible, it perhaps may not depreciate quickly. Maybe those are the right words to use for that. And as I said, you can see there that $21 billion of Ferraris alone exist there, according to research. And we're targeting 1% to 2% of this market only quite quickly. So it's actually a very large market, and we wouldn't make much of a dent in it at all to reach our 500 million to $1 billion sort of early target. So the platform is then to plug into an estimated $16 billion gaming industry as well, and that's from our younger tech team have been, driving this for a long time, showing us, how big the gaming industry is and how easily the tokens can transfer across into that. So that's an interesting part of the work that's ongoing. But then ultimately, we're planning the full attack on the automotive industry, co-ownership, driverless autonomous sharing vehicles. And this is a very large untapped market at the moment. So revenue comes from the platform fees, profits go to the operating costs. And we use, like Binance, you guys, I don't know if you know, but every time you work on Binance, they buy back their token, and that's why their token's doing very well from their trading fees. Very interesting model. So here's another example of a UK car, a McLaren F1 that has really gone up through the roof. I mean, look at that, from under the twos to 14, 15 million over that period of time. Fantastic asset performance, amazing. So we've got a few slides left, and I've been told I've got 2 minutes left, so we'll get to wrap this up quite soon. And here is the BitCar economy. Just wanted to touch on that. So in Power Ledger, we design the economy and the way that works, and then we design a BitCar economy. And at the end of the day, it's organic. And so what I mean here is there are 9 things on that tachometer, 9 ways that the BitCar token is used, from purchasing the interest in the cars to paying for fees, for storage, insurance, priority, and all those other things. So what's happening is the BitCar token is exposed to the volume on the platform. So if there's good take-up on the platform, there's good trading volumes, and there's good take-up, then the demand on the limited number of tokens that are fixed should be high. And that's really what the design of that token would be if that was to happen again. I'm being very cautious about what we say publicly, but that is the design of the token, and that's reasonable. And then you can see also there was only 500 million tokens ever allocated for this project, and there can't be any more. And that's part of why some of these blockchain projects are doing really well, because suddenly we've got a fixed amount of tokens, like Bitcoin, 21 million, for example. So it's nice that people will say, well, there's a fixed demand, so at least I know there's only that much ever. And it's the same case here. There can never be any more ERC20 BitCar tokens. So just wrapping it up, we're doing a pre-sale at the moment that's going great, and we're closed, as I say, to the US, China, and Singapore residents. Our prototype software was created over 2 years ago, and we had it fully built and operational, and it's being decentralized. We've got 10 in the team already now, And we made an announcement overnight, I don't know if you guys saw it, with the Dandy Syndicate here in London. They're the people that sold the F1 cars to the Chinese buyer for Litecoin. They're super connected here, and we're very proud to be a partner with that syndicate here in London, so that's fantastic. And as I said, the platform is set for launch in 2018. 60 seconds will be done. And then, so here's the team, John Bullich and myself, and Cherie, who's here as well, and Nuno, the core team. They're also behind Power Ledger, and we've got Rodney and Dan, who are here as well. And so here's some of the media that we've been getting across places. This is a while ago now, but it's been growing very strongly. We're doing a global roadshow at the moment, and it's been fantastic to hear really supportive comments overall. People like the fact that we're doing something with real assets and actually getting on and doing it and trying our best to make it a really positive experience, and which is what we're doing, whilst being very careful of regulation. So thank you very much for your time. Feel free, we are very community focused. At the end of the day, when the tokens are out there, decentralized platform, it is the token holders who rule and not the company. So that's our address in Singapore as well. Join our Telegram group and ask any questions in there. We've got a nice team helping answer all the questions in there. So thank you for your time, and that's it.
That's it.